Hello and welcome to Affinity. Something that's been bugging me for quite a while now, and I've put in requests for it and it hasn't happened as yet, which is to be able to use the selection method in HSL for just generic select an area by color. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here and hit Ctrl J to duplicate the layer there, and we'll turn the bottom one off for now, and you'll see in a moment what's going to happen. So from here, we're then going to go to HSL. So it's coming in as a child layer. And what we're going to do with this is select a color here and turn down the saturation. But we want to select color. So if you want to select just red, we're effectively going to move this around here and drag these around. We can take the inner one so it pushes the outer one in. So we've just got a bit here, and then we can drag the rest there to select the color we want. So literally you can go around and select any part of the picture. So let's do the red here of this house. Okay, that'll do for now, but we can come back to it later because this is non-destructive. Next thing is we want a little bit of code, but I need to explain first how it works. So I'm going to go to just a rectangle here, like this. And then go to the colors here, and let's drag this thing down so you can see it next to it. And if you put colors in here by dragging the red, green and blue up and down here, then what you're going to get is a color set by these. And what we're interested in is the gap between the top one and the bottom one, the maximum and the minimum. If that's kind of like all the way up, then you've got quite a bright color. But as you bring these in, as the maximum and the minimum get closer together, it gets more grey, more monochrome, to the point where when they are exactly the same value, you've got a grey. So what I need to do is say, where are the red, green and blue the same? And let's kind of like make that transparent, so we lose that detail. Or in fact, I can say, what about if it's kind of like near enough here? We'll make that a bit transparent, so we can sort of fade things off if we want to. So what I effectively want here is the maximum minus the minimum. Okay, so okay, let's put that back for now and just take that off and go back to this one. So what I want to put in here now is the procedural texture here, just a live one of those here. And I'm going to click plus to add an equation. It comes up with red already there, which is why it's gone cyan, because red is 0. I'm going to take that off. We want to put on A for alpha, which is the transparency of the layer. And we put an equation in here, which is max of R, G, B. Know that is the maximum of red, green and blue, minus the minimum. And olé, there you've got a selection. However, it's a little bit weak, isn't it? But you're making this selection here. So what we can do with this effectively is, when we've got this layer here with these colors in, is if we say this value here is the maximum minus the minimum, but as a proportion of the maximum, instead of at the moment it's a proportion of the whole thing. So in other words, what we do is going to divide this by the maximum again. So I'm going to put brackets beforehand, brackets afterwards, and then divided by max. And here, now see there, now that's brought that out a lot more. And what we can do as well is we can take this and we can round it up. So if I just say, and what that's going to do is, if it's any value at all, it's going to be turned all the way up to 1, which is going to be opaque. But if it's already 0, which is all these areas around here, then it's going to stay at 0. So it's basically going to pull up everything that is selected. And you can use any combination of these. So this is something which you can play with. But if I do that, look, I've got much more here. This is quite solidly selected now, though we do have other areas here. So what I'm going to do now is go back here, is do something to be able to take this off. I can now, by the way, play around with this again. So for this, I make sure I click the second one there, and I can play around with these things here. And see, I can change with the color that's selected. The more I push it in tightly, and I can just click the other side and move it around, I can select more accurately. But I'm still going to get some areas left over here. So all I'm going to do is click on the background again and put in a mask. And then for that mask, then to paint these other things out, I need a black brush because it's white already, so I need to do the other way around. So I just go to the paintbrush tool here, and 100% opacity and medium softness is fine, so like 50-ish, something like that. Make sure I got black brush, and I just paint away anything here. I can right square bracket to make it a bit bigger, so if I just want to keep this here. And because I'm painting on a mask, that means I can always go back and take it off the mask if I don't like it there. So if I want to put back that there, I'm going to change that to white. And I can see I can put this back in there. So there we go. One more thing we can do is if I look at the edge of this, see this is a fairly rough there. I want to smooth that off a little bit so it'll blend in again. I'm just going to put in a little bit of a blur. So I go down here, go all the way up to Gaussian blur, and just turn that up just a tiny amount, 0.1, 0.2. Is that enough? See with that soften that out, did a bit of effectively anti-aliasing there. That looks okay. So Control 0 to that. So now if I turn the bottom one on again, I've got the whole picture. It's just selected, so I can adjust the back one, top one now. And I can do things like, because I've selected that, I can do a curves, for example, and bring this up here, or I can go to the other curves and change the color of it by adjusting just those elements. And I can do all sorts of other things. I could go to, for example, I could go to recolor of that, and I can play around with the hue and saturation of that, etc., and blend it back in different ways and so on. So you can just put in further adjustments on this layer because these layers down here have selected it. And of course you can still go back in to the HSL here, play around with these controls to change the color that is selected. Anyway, that's it. Hope that was useful, and thank you very much for watching.